Hey guys, welcome back to Agree to Disagree. We're continuing our 2022 fantasy coverage with tight ends. Our last one, and we saved it because we're probably going to agree on a bunch of these ones, but we got to get these rankings out of the way. Sometimes tight ends will win your league. It's a pretty thin position, but yeah, we're going to get into our tight end rankings. How you doing, big dog?
Good, man. Like you said, tight ends, they are probably out of all the positions, the last one you're thinking about drafting, unless if you can get up and grab a great tight end. Tight ends are kind of a luxury position. So, you get one of these top 3, top 5 tight ends. That's really a luxury for you. But like you said, they win you leagues. Our league particularly, like you can put a tight end in a flex. So maybe your draft strategy, you try to draft some tight ends earlier so you kind of screw your draft mates a little later in the draft, just depending on what you want to do. But yeah, we can have up to 2 tight ends in a lineup, so that can affect our rankings, and that can also affect the way we kind of draft. So keep that in mind before we go through our rankings. I know some of the guys in our league like to draft tight ends early, and then there's other ones that draft tight ends late. So these are going to be PPR rankings, so keep that in mind. Also, we catch or point per catch, like we think about stuff like that. So, but yeah, man, there's no doubt who number 1 is. I mean, we can go right into it. There's really no question who number 1 is. He's been number 1 for a few years now, and that's Travis Kelsey. I would assume that's number 1 on your list.
Yeah, he is. I know a lot of people are jumping on the Mark Andrews wagon. I'm not one of them. I actually took Darren Waller last year, 3rd round, and that's about as high as I'll go when going for a tight end. And I thought he was going to have a breakout year. I was wrong. So now this year I'm a little hesitant to go up and get one of these guys. But to me, there's 5 guys that are really worth drafting in these high rounds. Sorry to kind of sidetrack off the rankings, but yeah,
Sure.
Travis Kelsey, he's my number 1 guy. I just wanted to go over that real quick. Number 1 guy for me is Travis Kelsey, but like I said, there's the top 5 guys that are kind of elite, and then there's some guys that are borderline. So the elite guys are the ones that you're going to get probably around round 4 through round 8. You'll start seeing these the top dogs go. And if you can get one of them and your roster's sitting pretty, man, like I said, they can be, because there's only a handful of guys that are going to score average, probably like around 14 to 18 points fantasy wise. That there's only a handful. The rest are going to be around 10. So that little 4 or 5 point disparity between the elite of the top 5 and then the second tier guys, there's a big gap. There's a bigger gap there than almost any other position, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why there's these top 5 guys that we're probably going to agree on. Maybe not the same order, but I'm sure the top 5 will be the same. But yeah, number 1, we're in agreement, dude. It's Travis Kelsey. He's arguably the best receiving tight end in history. He's always open. He's got Pat Mahomes. Enough said, huh?
Yeah, with Kelsey, man, this is the year to kind of draft him. I think his targets are going to go up. I've been seeing him I did one mock, but he went high second. He went in the high second round. I think last year he was projected a 1st round pick. I think on NFL mock drafts, he's actually ranked like the ninth overall player. If you're comfortable with drafting a luxury spot that high, I mean, you're going to get paid off for it. I mean, Travis Kelsey is a guy he plays. I mean, he rarely
He's
gets
one
hurt.
of one.
Yeah, he's something that you can obviously you set and forget. Like, you're not going to ever like, oh, should I play somebody else over Travis Kelsey? No, you don't.
Right.
Ever. Doesn't matter the matchup. Doesn't matter if he's even having a bad stretch. You still put him in. With that said, last year I went with the 2 middle round guys that I kind of got along with 2 middle round guys, and I did okay with it. Sometimes you'll have that ascending tight end that comes out of nowhere because of injury, and you can get along with that. So just depending on how you're comfortable with you are drafting with these guys high. But Kelsey's the one guy, man, in the top, I'd say 3 rounds that I'd be very comfortable with drafting. If he's in the late second, high third, that's when me personally, that's when I start to think about that. If he falls like that, but he usually is not there. Somebody usually will jump the gun on him, and you can be comfortable. Yeah, you can be comfortable with him in the second round. Hell,
He's the one.
Yeah,
Right.
he's the one
He's the
guy you
one.
can do that with. So, one, like you said, 101. Let's move on because it's Travis
Right.
Kelsey. Everybody knows who
So
Travis Kelsey
who's
is.
your number two? Who's your number two then, big
So
dog?
I am jumping on the Mark Andrews train, and the reason why I am, like everybody else, is because I think he's going to get the targets this year. He has a good year. Then he had a good year. Then he had a bad year. Not a bad year, but he had an off year. And then last year he had the good year again. Now, keep in mind, I think the second and third string tight end last year for the Ravens did get hurt, so he was on the field a ton. Whereas 2 years ago, that wasn't necessarily the case. They ran the ball a lot. They have run blocking tight ends they will bring in, and that's why he comes off the field. When they do that, it kind of makes it seem, okay, hey, it's a passing down. Here comes Mark Andrews. So if they don't do that as much this year, I can see him having a really, really big year. He basically catches everything, and Lamar loves him. So I do jump on him only because I do think that overall he'll probably have the second most targets, and he has the capability of coming down with the second most catches.
Right. Volume play alone, you're going to get a lot, hopefully get a lot with Mark Andrews. But for me, I actually have him dropping a little bit. I'll get into that when we get to him. Number two for me is Kyle Pitts. He had the most receiving yards from a tight end and rookie receiving yards ever. And I think he only had, 2 or 3 touchdowns. So for me, he's the clear-cut number one target, just like Andrews is, but he's more a freak of an athlete. He's got more catch radius. He's better with the ball in his hands. He's just a better athlete. I think he's a better player. And also a thing, he's got Mariota thrown to him. That's the only thing that drops him for me. And the fact that there's no more Russell Gage or obviously a Julio or anybody out there to take the pressure off him.
Calvin Ridley.
Or Ridley. Yeah. So he's going to get a lot of attention. All eyes are going to be on him, similar to Andrews. But like I said, just a talent. And then Mariota, he actually had some good years in Tennessee hooking up Delaney Walker. I don't know if you remember that. Mm-hmm. I might be stretching, but he's not afraid to throw it to his tight ends. Delaney Walker had some good years with Mariota throwing to him, and I think that Mariota, he's used to that option route, so he's going to be looking down the middle. That's going to be his first target, and I think he's going to have a good year. I think Kyle Pitts is a guy I'm kind of going with upside and potential here because I think he has the ability to earn that second spot. I don't think anybody's catching Kelsey. We were wrong last year because Andrews did, but he had a guy helping him out last year with Hollywood who's gone. So for me, Kyle Pitts, number two.
Yeah, and I kind of have a feeling that maybe we have Andrews and Pitts flip-flops. And, so same thing with when you talk about Mark Andrews, I'll talk about Kyle Pitts here in a second. Number three, for me, to me, he's the overall best tight end in football because of what he does in the run game. Doesn't really do much for him in fantasy, but he has the capability of have a 30, 40-point game because we've seen it, is George Kittle. And, this guy, when he's healthy, he's had some injuries the last couple of years. That's why he dropped to number two for me. But he's always been right there in the conversation with Travis Kelsey. And, there's a big debate of who the best tight end is. Well, it depends on what you're looking at. When it comes to run blocking, this guy might be the best tight end that has ever lived, ever. I mean, he is one of the best run blocking tight ends you'll ever see. But again, it's fantasy football, so it doesn't really do much in fantasy football, does it? So, but he does have the capability. He has athleticism to take a ball 60 yards. He's a big target in the red zone. What I'm hearing out of San Francisco camp is Trey Lance has been looking a lot towards Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle, but that also, Debo just reported, so that might change. But Kittle, to me, I can't see him. I can't draft him any lower than the other guy, or any lower than what I have. So number three is George Kittle.
Yeah, I have him drop too. We're in another disagreement. I thought we were going to agree a little bit more than we are, but we're going to disagree again, man. I got my number three for me is Darren Waller, and the reason being, I know he did me dirty last year, but he was hurt last year. The talent is undeniable, and the offense he's in, They got Devontae Adams. He was the focal point of their passing attack last year, and you've seen a lot of coverage, a lot of safety help going his way. I don't think you can really do that anymore. I think the safety is going to be leaning towards Devontae Adams, and he's going to get freed up. And I know we also disagreed on this. They are going to be a pass-first team, and he's going to be the second look. He's a big play guy. Renfro is going to be the security blanket, but Reed's 1 and 2 is going to be Adams, Waller. And most of the time, one of those guys are going to be open. So I think both of those guys are going to have some pretty solid years. And, so that's why I am not dropping Waller just because he did me dirty last year. I still got faith in you, big dog. I got you at number 3, Darren Waller.
Yeah, Waller's my number 4. I mean, the talent's there. There's nothing I can say negative about the guy last year. You know, he was the focal point. He was the big play guy. He was the third down guy. I mean, they did have Hunter Renfro that came on last year and started to make plays. But going into the season, going into draft season, which is where we're sitting right now, you know, Waller was getting all the talk. I mean, people were drafting him in the second, third round right behind Kelsey because they thought that that's what he was going to be. I think it was the Cowboy game where he had the leg injury. And it ended up being like he
Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving
back injury. But before that, I mean, he was on pace to have a
solid.
really good year. Yeah. Then that obviously hindered him, and I think it was back and leg, and he had a whole bunch of different things going on. And trying to play through that kind of stuff instead of taking a couple of weeks off, I mean, that can hinder you. I'm not going to deny anything that you just said. I mean, I do think they're going to be a little bit more run than people might think, only because it's Josh McDaniels and that's his offense. But again, I talked about this in the quarterback. We talked about Derek Carr. It's going to depend if he adapts to his offense or if the offense has to adapt to him. We have yet to see it. So, you know, when they report to camp and maybe there's a little bit more reports coming out of camp, we'll have a little bit more.
I mean, he comes from the Belichick camp. Some of those, some coaches are stubborn in their ways. And so he might be one of them, but honestly, the best coaches play to your player's strengths, and that's what he should do. Air that shit out, man. Let Waller and Adams feast.
The one thing I'll say is, when with tight ends, the one connection you can kind of see is when, tight ends and running backs. I know they play completely different positions, but you can kind of see a correlation between targets. So when a running back's targets kind of go up, a tight end's targets kind of go down. And believe it or not, from week 9 and above, there was only one other person that got more targets than Josh Jacobs last year. And I think it was either Alvin Kamara. I can't remember who it was, but there's only one player that got more running back targets last year, the last part of the season, than Josh Jacobs. Could that have been due to Kyle Pitts' injury? Maybe.
And Kenyon, Darren Waller. But yeah, and Kenyon.
Who'd I say?
You said Kyle Pitts. Yeah, I know what you meant.
Darren Waller. Could that have been Darren Waller going down? Maybe. Do I see Josh Jacobs getting 70 targets this year? That's not his team, so probably not.
I think Kenyon Drake, and then they had, what was the other running back they had?
Both Washington, something like that.
Yeah, either way, they were hurt.
Maybe I'm a couple years behind. It doesn't really matter. It's not gonna matter. But that's the only correlation that you can see. So again, if they're looking to target the running back out of the backfield a little bit more, I can see Darren Waller's targets go down a little bit. But he's a freak athletically. He's a big body guy. So I mean, I'm going off name over that a little bit. I think Kittle is a little bit higher in his pecking order. I think he's probably going to be number 2 option, only because that's kind of who he's been the last 5 years. But I flip-flop those guys a couple times in my head. So that's 3 and 4. Right. I mean, you can basically flip a coin.
So 4 is Waller for you then?
4 is Waller for me.
Waller. Yeah, all right. So number 4 for me, that's where I have Mark Andrews. I'm probably the only guy out there around with him at number 4. And honestly, that's kind of where he was at last year, maybe even 5 or 6 people had him last year. And I'm not pushing him up just because the year he had last year. He scored a lot of touchdowns, and all the running backs were hurt. It was either Lamar or Andrews or Hollywood. It was 1, 2, or 3 for them. Hollywood's gone. They got Bateman, but they're also going to have some running backs coming back down. They got Dobbins and Gus Edwards coming back. So I don't think it's going to be as solely dependent on him. Not to mention, if you're a a defensive coordinator and you have a top tier corner, are you going to put him on Bateman or are you going to put him on Andrews?
Mm-hmm.
With all due respect, you're probably going to put him on Andrews right now and let's see what the youngster can do. And so for me, the top coverage is going to be his way. They couldn't do that before because Hollywood, they had to respect that speed.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being gone, I think the top corner, the top coverage should go to Andrews. They couldn't it had to be Hollywood just because the home run threat. He always had to account for him and put your top cover guy on him. Can't do that anymore. Or you don't have to do that anymore. They should stop Andrews because everyone knows Lamar throws it up to Andrews all the time. So if you're a defensive coordinator, I feel like a lot of attention is going to be on him. And I think that his numbers, his touchdowns specifically, are going to come down. And then Lamar's going to have to spread it around. I think the running backs are going to get involved, and Bateman is going to balance out Andrews a little bit.
The one thing just to chime in here real quick before we move on, we saw it against Travis Kelsey and, the Chiefs, and it was the Bucs that kind of figured out how to play them, and you kind of drop a balloon coverage against them because you didn't really fear the Chiefs running backs. That's how people played Kelsey. Well, you can't really do that with the Ravens because they're so strong off in the running game. So the one thing, if you have a big physical like a Lattimore, if you have Tre'Davious White, like if you have these big physical receivers, big physical corners,
right.
Those are the kind of guys that I could see lining up against them. But even that's not going to happen every week. Like the Steelers are going to probably line up like Minka Fitzpatrick against them because he's their most physical DB. And Mark Andrews can kind of outrun that. I mean, he's surprisingly fast. So if you're going to have one-on-one coverage with him, the only way I could see you stopping Mark Andrews is if you're playing man is by having help. I don't really see anybody one-on-one unless if you're one of these top 3 or 4 corners being able to stop him. And that's not going to happen every week. So and you can't play zone against them because they run the ball so well. That's the only thing I could see. And, obviously he's Lamar's top option. He was his top option last year, even with Hollywood and everybody else. I know the running backs were down, but, they don't really, again, the correlation of targets between running back and tight end, they didn't have a running back to target. Like Latavius Murray is not a receiving back. Dobbins is. That could bring his targets down a little bit. But I still like the guy. I can't justify drafting anybody higher than him other than Kelsey, but
I can. I draft Kelsey, Pitts, and Waller over him. That's me. So who's your? That's my number 4. Your number 4 was Waller, so you're on number 5, right?
So number 5, number 5 again.
Gotta be.
It's Kyle Pitts,
right?
Kyle Pitts because and him and Darren Waller are prototypical like these athletic freaks, and you could go hand in hand and you could mix match these guys on any offense and they're going to play the same role because they're athletic freaks. You brought up the Mariota Delaney Walker thing. That was actually a good point.
Thank you.
But what you just talked about Mark Andrews is how they're going to try to force the ball to Kyle Pitts. He also had Matt Ryan, and I would take Matt Ryan over Marcus Mariota any day of the week. And he had 1 touchdown in 17 weeks. So athletic ability, like obviously he's going to score more than 1 touchdown this year.
Yeah, Matt Ryan don't force it either though. He'll make the right read and spread it around. Yeah,
so I mean if Mariota's, I mean that's going to be more of a you talked about the option. That's exactly what they're going to run. Everybody's going to see it coming. But the same thing you just talked about Mark Andrews, like if Kyle Pitts is the only option they're going to have on that side of the ball, like why not
Cordarrelle Patterson out the backfield?
Yeah,
a solid year. That's your boy.
In that division, man. I always look at division. So in Atlanta, you have on all 3 teams, Carolina has it. Obviously Tampa has. They have fast linebackers. I mean, from sideline to sideline, like they can catch Cordarrelle Patterson. Cordarrelle Patterson's fast.
Pretty good safeties too.
He's straight line speed. So those are gonna be tough games and against all 3 teams in that division. So
you got their little safeties like Tyrann Mathieu, Antoine Winfield.
But Tyrann Mathieu is a boomer though.
They're
he'll
small.
hit you, but he'll hit.
So Winfield. So will Twan. Don't sleep on him.
Yeah. No, hey, I haven't slept on him since he was in Minnesota, and I told you about him. So let's calm down there a little bit. All right. But yeah, Kyle Pitts to me, like the reason why I have him at number 5, and we probably, we flip flop, is the same reason what you just said about Mark Andrews. That's how I feel about Kyle Pitts. He's going into his second year. He is really their only option, like top fantasy option, let's put it that way, in that offense. Like there could be somebody that emerges. We don't know yet. Drake London is a rookie. He might be a sleeper at receiver. So I've been talking about that kid for a while out of USC. So let's see how that goes.
Out, man. There you go. That's a good point.
But Mariota, let's see how he handles it. Let's see how he hasn't been a starter for a while. So let's see how he gets back into the option, or gets back into the option or offense. Sorry, and with that option offense, and that's my number 5 is Kyle Pitts.
My number 8, throw it to him. My number 5 is George Kittle. You just respond to is he the best overall? Like honestly, in reality, if you're having a fantasy draft or a overall draft, and who you taking to build around your team to win a Super Bowl, it's probably George Kittle, because what he can do, like run after catch. There's probably not a better tight end. That dude just runs motherfuckers over, stiff arms people. He's a beast. We all know about it. The reason I have him at number 5 is because of the upside and because of the star power and the potential. But Trey Lance, is he going to be – I know Jimmy used to get rid of it quick, and they had a nice little connection. Is that connection still going to be there? I'm a little hesitant, so that's why I dropped him just a little bit. So I got George Kittle at number 5 for me.
Yeah, I mean, again, we have the same top 5, we're just in different spots.
Just shuffled up a little bit.
Yeah, and he's another question mark. So it's not really the question mark of Kittle, it's the question mark of Trey Lance. Same reason my question mark of Marcus Mariota. I mean, can the guy get him the ball? For right now, I think Debo just reported today or yesterday. So let's see how that, insertion changes, like how camp's going and all that kind of stuff. And all, but as of right now, it sounds like Kittle and Ayuk look really good. But you add Debo, who was a top 5 receiver last year. I don't really know the numbers, but he was a top 5 fantasy receiver last year. Fantasy receiver running. What position did he play last year? We don't know. But you insert that and how much that changes the offense. How much is disappearance will affect it. But number 6 for me, this is a guy that I had last year, and I really, really like him, is Dallas Goddard. And yeah, I jumped him up. I think
you did.
I did. Because now you talk about not being the main option. He's not the main option. And he had a really good connection last year. But I say that because every time I draft Dallas Goddard, it's either hit or miss. I had this guy 2 years ago even, and he didn't do jack shit for me. So we'll see how this works out. A.J. Brown obviously is the number 1 option there. Miles Sanders out of the backfield. They have some receiving backs out of the backfield. So, again, correlation between running back and tight end. I'll keep talking about that because I think about that. Right. You never want to put your running back and your tight end from the same team. You don't want to do that. So, but Dallas Goddard to me has the talent. There's the next 2 guys behind these next, like 6 through 8 to me. You can shuffle them any way you want, and they're almost the exact same guy.
We'll see.
Dallas Goddard I like because I draft him every year.
I thought you were going to go with the guy that was in your starting lineup in your champion league. I thought you were going to go there.
I told you, and that's who I have coming up right behind him because you can.
Right.
I had him too.
6 for me. You did have both of them. 6 for me is Zach Ertz. I feel like he's going to keep building on the strong finish that he had last year, and to right out the gate, I feel like he's going to be 1 or 2 option. Mm-hmm. He's going to be the number 1 option is going to be Hollywood right out the gate. And just because that's Kyler's used to him, they got a connection, and that's the deep threat in that offense. They look for the home runs first, and then they'll check it down and go to that security blanket second. And I think that's going to be Zach Ertz. I think they built some chemistry to finish last year, and I think he's going to continue it. He's not going to score a lot of touchdowns because I think that's going to be Hollywood, and then Hopkins is going to come back, and he's going to draw that too. but it's going to open up a lot for Ertz, man. And they're in a pass-heavy offense. I think he's at worst the third option. He knows how to get open. He knows coverages. I think he's going to be a solid fantasy tight end. That's why I have him at number 6, and that's probably the highest I've seen. I've seen a lot of rankings. I don't have anybody that has him that high.
You know, I said Dalton Schultz is nice. It's not. I actually have Zach Ertz at 7. I forgot what number we were on. I have Zach Ertz at 7, and here's why. You just mentioned it. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be out for 6 weeks, and that chemistry that he only had half a season last year in Arizona, so they're still trying to learn each other. Well, he has 6 weeks to do that without his number 1 red zone option. And Zach Ertz might catch a lot of his touchdowns early with DeAndre Hopkins out. But what do you think is going to happen after 6 weeks? Let's say Zach Ertz has 4 or 5 touchdowns in those 6 weeks. Let's just hypothetically speaking, what do you think that's going to do for Kyler's confidence and who he's going to be looking for the rest of the year in the red zone, because he knows he can complete it. Now he has that connection with DeAndre Hopkins in the red zone. That's kind of because I don't want to discount D-Hop because I still think he's one of the top talents in the league when he's healthy and when he's playing. But Zach Ertz has been that guy for 10 years now, and a very good year for him going into an explosive offense. Let's be real. They're pretty explosive when they want to be. A good year, you could see him score 10 to 12 touchdowns. So I disagree with the touchdowns being down a little bit because I think he's going to score a couple in the early parts with D-Hop out. So you can kind of have that. And then they also play in a dome. So at the end of the year, when it starts to get cold and they play on the West Coast, they aren't going to play very many games outdoors. So that's going to help your receivers. That's little things you can think about. But Zach Ertz is a very, very strong, round 9, round 10. That's where he's going to probably go unless the tight ends start to fly early. If they start flying early, and you wait on tight end, you're going to be getting one of these guys 11 through 15. But yeah, Zach Ertz is number 7 for me.
So now my number 7 is Dalton Schultz. And I think that for me, CeeDee Lamb's going to get all the coverage. So he's going to get plenty of one-on-ones, and he shouldn't get safety help. Safety help's got to be rolling to CeeDee every time. So to me, he's going to have an opportunity to have a pretty damn good season. Someone's here. But he's going to have a good season. And I think for me, I got Dalton Schultz, number 7.
Yeah, and I mean, rolling right into number 8, that's where I have Dalton Schultz. I mean, like I said, 6 through 8. I mean, you can flop for me, you can flop them any way you want. It has nothing to do with. I mean, it literally is 6A, 6B, 6C.
We're gonna have Goddard. Goddard's gonna be our one difference here once we get through 8.
I'm sure we had your number 8 is probably gonna be my number 9, which is another guy that we could talk about all day, and that could be 6D. I mean, all these guys are very good value picks and a very solid tight end 1. I mean, let's be real. I mean, you can, if you're not having Kelsey, Andrews, Kittle, Waller, Pitts, 6 through 10, really. I mean,
right.
You flip-flop, these guys are all going to have about the same amount of targets, and you're going to be good. Dalton Schultz, he came on last year with Dak. He was somebody that everybody got off waivers. I just happened to be that guy. I watched him, score 15 points a game for the most part. And you can expect that as a high side for him. And he might get a touchdown or 2 and Dak looks for him. So again, Dalton Schultz, you can be very happy if he's your tight end.
So he's your number 8. My number 8 is Mike Gesseki. And to me, I'm looking for guys that are in pass first offenses and that are going to be top 3 option. I know he's going to be the third look, and honestly, I feel like he's going to be the red zone guy because the other 2 guys are smaller and they're more the home run guys, the shiftier guys, get it to him quick. But if you needed to throw up that fade real quick, you can line Gesseki up out there and he'll moss dudes. I think he's one of the better receiving tight ends in the game. He's in a better offense. A guy that used to feature George Kittle in his offense, the new head coach down in Miami. So I think they know how to use tight ends. He's a talented tight end. To me, he's number 8.
That's where he's the one guy for me who dropped. So you dropped Dallas Goddard, I dropped Mike Gesseki. And I mean, when we get down there, I mean, I have a little bit a different opinion on him, but that's who I dropped. So that's where we're gonna obviously disagree. Number 9, who you got at number 9?
Number 9 for me is TJ Hawkinson.
Okay.
And I think he's going to be – I don't know if Jamison Williams is going to play right away, their rookie receiver. But they have Amon-Ra St. Brown, and they have TJ Hawkinson. They're going to be the top 2 guys you're looking for unless it's Swift out the backfield. So they got options, but he's the biggest option. The other guys are like shiftier, quicker. He's a guy that can get open a little bit downfield, down the middle. So I think as long as – he got hurt last year, so he kind of – slipped up a little bit, but he was having a good year. I think he was in the top 5 for the most part until he missed some time. But so for me, number 9, TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah, I agree with you on this one. Hawkinson at number 9. 2 years ago when he was a rookie, I drafted him in the last round, and everybody was like, who the fuck is TJ Hawkinson? And
first round, wasn't he like a top 5 pick? Something like that?
Yeah, but in fantasy, nobody had him on the radar because he was a Detroit Lion, and it doesn't matter where he got drafted. Nobody really knew who he was. He didn't have the greatest rookie year. He was very touchdown dependent, and which kind of hurt my feelings because I really wanted to call that one. But, I mean, people started to see, like, oh, TJ Hawkinson had 7 catches and a touchdown. Like, oh, Mike knows what he's talking about. Like, no kidding. But last year you started to see it. You started to see the emergence, and then he started getting riddled with injuries. He got riddled with injuries his first year too. So I hope that doesn't become a trend. But he has the ability to be a top 5 tight end. He has the ability. He's going to probably be the best option. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I like Jamison Williams too as a rookie. Let's see how ready he is. But I like Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then, you talk about DeAndre Swift, correlation of targets out of the backfield. That's the one thing that hurts Hawkinson is his target value, his target share. It's not very high. Now, with that said, if he can raise that a little bit and he can get more targets, he has the ability, he has the high side of finishing a top 5 tight end. He has that talent. He's in that option. He's that option to his team. I don't see that happening, so that's why I'm at number 9.
Right on. I gotta get going here in a few minutes, big dog. So I'm sorry to keep rushing you through this, but number 10 for me to round out the top 10, and no surprise here, is Dallas Goddard for me. What's yours? Is it Gesseki?
I have Dawson Knox. So
that's where we disagree. So you dropped Gesseki even farther. So I have Goddard. I don't need to go into Goddard. The reason I dropped him just quickly on Goddard is just because A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, to me, he might be the 3rd option, and it's not a pass-heavy offense. So that's the reason I have him down just a little bit, Dallas Goddard. So your number 10 is Dawson Knox, Mr. Touchdown Dependent, huh?
Dawson Knox, yeah. So I think Buffalo gets down inside the 10 more than any team that I've ever seen, and they're only 2 options because they for some reason can't run the ball from the 10-yard line and inside, so they pass the ball. If you're not giving it to Diggs, you're going to give it to Dawson Knox. You have Gabriel Davis insertion, but Dawson had a big year last year, and I expect it to continue.
Insertion. Yeah, no, I got so number 10, you got Knox, I got Goddard. We're going to go ahead and crank through these last 11 through 12 real quick. And my 11 might be a little bit of a sleeper, if you will, but 1 through 10, there are some 10-man leagues, so you might be through all your starters already. And those are probably your safest 10 starters. These are guys, if you're getting a little bit deeper anyways. Number 11 for me is Cole Kmet. And I think I got him higher than some people just because of the volume, man. I think the volume, Mooney's going to be the first option, and then he's going to be their second option. I think him and Justin Fields started building a little something towards the end of last year. So Cole Kmet for me, number 11, has some upside.
Did Jimmy Graham retire yet? The touchdown catcher? Did he?
Oh yeah, no, I'm not sure, but that fucking guy, yeah, he stole them all. Still scoring touchdowns.
Yeah, he's a touchdown vulture, man. That's the only reason why I have him at a little bit lower. But I have him mentioned. 11 for me is Pat Fryermuth. This is another kid, came on last year, rookie, and touchdown dependent a little bit, but he might grow on a really strong freshman campaign. So let's see how that works out. Number 12.
Yeah, he's my number 12, and same thing. I just feel like he's there's a lot of options on that team. You got Najee, you got your 2 receivers also. So for me, and it's not, I don't trust the quarterbacks to be airing it out like that. Trubisky kind of tends to one guy. I think that's going to be Deontay and Najee. I think those are the 2 guys you can really trust. The other guys, So that's 12 Fryermuth for me. Number 13.
Well, 12 for me. Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
You got to go, but hold on.
You go.
12 for me is number 84 in my heart, and that's Irv Smith Jr. Okay, this guy is always hurt. Got rid of Kyle Rudolph for this guy. Now we got rid of Tyler Conklin for this guy. It is now or never for Mr. Irv Smith Jr. Second round pick out of Alabama a couple years ago. He's a sleeper every year because he gets hurt every year and nobody really knows who he is yet. Let's hope he stays healthy. Irv Smith Jr., you could be excited to draft him if you do get him.
Yeah, he's my number 13 also. He wasn't this high on me and you have him. We're on the Irv Smith. We're aware. So if you're watching A2D, you're aware of Irv Smith Jr. He's not in most other guys' top 15. He's in both of our top 13. So Irv Smith Jr., he's going to be in a pass-heavy offense. He might be the second most explosive pass receiving guy besides Dalvin, but downfield-wise, I know Thielen's more of a possession guy. Irv Smith can get you down the middle, so I think Irv Smith is in a good offense. I think Irv Smith is 13. Who's your 13?
13 is Mike Gesseki.
There he is.
There he is. Question mark with me is Tua, and I've talked about it on 3 or 4
accurate quarterback in the NFL.
I like the kid's character. I love the kid's character. I like the kid's character, the character of the kid. No, I'm just kidding. No, I like the guy. My question mark is Tua. He's the 3rd option on his team. They even have some running backs that like to catch the ball. That's why I dropped him. So I'm not going to go much more into that.
Right.
But that's why I dropped him.
Cool. Number 14 for me is Dawson Knox. I have him dropped a little bit because I'll just say the emergence of Gabe Davis, and I feel like they have 2 running backs now with James Cook out of the backfield that is going to be catching balls, and Singletary is still solid. So I think that his touchdowns, he was touchdown dependent last year. He just happened to score a bunch of them. I think those are going to come down a little bit. So I have him coming down a little bit. He's number 14, Dawson Knox.
Yeah, we have all the same guys, man. 14 for me is Cole Kmet. As long as he can get his touchdown vultured, then he should be a solid option if you need a streamer.
Right. We'll see. Here it is, the last one. We'll see if they're all the same. Logan Thomas, number 15. Is he?
Big Bob Tunyon.
Bobby
Tunyon.
Thomas.
I have Logan Thomas as an honorable mention.
I just had to put him in just because of upside. If he's healthy, then I think that offense with the what's his name? Carson Wentz. He used to hook up Zach Ertz a lot. He throws to his tight ends. So if Logan Thomas can be healthy, then I think that's going to be a nice he won't finish. He'll finish higher than 15 if he's healthy. Depends how many games he misses because I know he got hurt.
Yeah, when he has a solid tight end, like he didn't really have a solid tight end in Indy. So I have him an honorable mention. I mean, I put Tunyon in there only because Rodgers doesn't have very many people to throw to. And when he was healthy, I mean, Tunyon was eating. So,
he's going to be an option now. So he rounds out your top 15. Just to blast through these honorable mentions. Mine is I actually have a star next to Robert Tunyon. He was my first honorable mention because he just same things you mentioned, So, and then my other one was Hunter Henry. I have a star next to him as well because Mac Jones. I'm hearing some good things about Mac Jones, and he is a good. He scores touchdowns. Hunter Henry, he always does. So I have him as another potential guy. 15. He's like 16, 17 though. So if you're getting down here, these are backups or streaming guys.
Yeah. My honorable mentions real quick. Hunter Henry, you mentioned it. Logan Thomas, you mentioned him. Very good streaming. I have one more written down is Gerald Everett, only because he's the new starting tight end for the Los Angeles Chargers. They're going to have an explosive offense. Herbert's going to be looking for anybody and anybody. So, I just have him as an honorable mention because, again, a DFS streaming.
He's healthy,
option.
Right? If he's healthy, he could be a sleeper. Yeah, wait for that. Wait to pick him up.
Don't draft him. But make sure that you pay attention to how your draft is going. If you're in the last round and you don't have a tight end, everybody's gone. Gerald Everett will be serviceable.
Right.
So.
Right, and that's going to wrap up our tight ends, guys. It's crazy. I've actually, I always say wait on your tight ends. So I've been mocking, and you got to play the board how it plays out ultimately. And I've been mocking, and shoot, I had one of my mocks. I had Kyle Pitts. One of them I had who was it here? I had George Kittle. So like, you know, some of these things, you never know how the draft plays out. You might end up getting one of these top dogs, and it could work out for you.
Yeah, it's never a bad thing, guys, to have a luxury. And if you are drafting very well and you have that luxury to go up and get a tight end, if you have receivers and running backs that you're comfortable with around 6 and 7, get your luxury guy, and it's never a bad thing. But yeah, I mean, these are our top 15. There's a couple honorable mentions, maybe even a couple like Noah Fant. Like, there's a couple guys we didn't talk about that might be really,
Tyler
really
Higbee,
heavy,
if Higbee
really
gets
heavy
healthy.
sleepers.
So
Higbee was very
throw out a
serviceable
couple
last year. So,
right.
But anyway, guys, this is our top 15. We're not expecting you to agree with them. A lot of things I've been getting this week is that you don't agree with us and that, you know, we suck. Well, that's kind of the point, is we want your input. We want to know who your top 15 are. Let us know the players that we're missing that you think that should be in there, but don't just tell us that they should be. Tell us why. We'll engage with you. We'll let you know why. We would like for you guys to like and subscribe our page. That way we can have some more communication with you. And that's how we're going to grow. And that's how we can get you guys to help win your leagues and better communication. Because, you know, we're all in this kind of together until at least week 1. So anyway, big dog. Yeah. That's all we got to say about tight ends. Until next time, hit that subscribe button and we'll talk to you next time.